Do you feel like Puffy owe you?
Yeah, he should. I think he should look out. He look out for everybody else. You know what I'm saying? I seen he brought.
Do you feel like Puffy owe you? Definitely. Would it be a good idea? For me, I figure he ought to peer out. He pays special attention to every other person, you understand. What I'm talking about, I see that shockwaves have been felt, by and large around the business. Because of Keith D's new capture, the intricacy of 2Pac Shacker's M case has ascended with each new advancement, leaving the overall population and policing now. A few awful kid performers have been supposed to emerge with data on Diddy's supposed contribution in the title leasing hearing. And that has purportedly made him frenzy. Diddy made many individuals frantic and upset. And he might be losing a portion of his influence. Many are left asking why these performers, who might place Diddy in grave peril, seem, by all accounts, to be unexpectedly anxious to affirm, obviously, that is on the grounds that Diddy has consummated the procedure of transforming his once faithful entertainers into opponents over the course of the years since he began the terrible Kid Record organization. So there are plainly many convincing purposes behind them to harm him in the event that he took me to Puff. They went to how the together, like assuming that I knew Pewd, that assuming I realized it would tumble down to this. I ought to have knew better. Many have hypothesized that it has something to do with the new reports that Suge Knight intends to affirm against Key D. Given this new data, Diddy could be the top suspect, as per reports. Previous music tycoon Suge Knight, an observer to 2Pac Shacker's M, has ended his quiet considering the new capture of Dwayne Keith D. Davis. Many can't help thinking about how Knight feels about the capture, given that he was in the vehicle when 2Pac was shot, and me and Keith D played on a similar influence water football crew. And whatever the conditions, assuming he had an inclusion with anything, the previous death row record chief, currently in a correctional facility, as of late talked on the telephone about his sentiments in regards to his capture and conceivable preliminary collaboration. This interview, led by TMZ, uncovered Knight's considerations on Key D's capture and his expected job in the looming preliminary. The enormous man said there were just 2 individuals in the vehicle, and Pac won't have the option to recount the story. I won't recount to the story, given past cases, that 4 individuals were in the vehicle with 2Pac at the hour of the shooting. This data created all in all a ruckus among the public. Knight appeared to be generally when TMZ requested his contemplations on Keith D's capture. His lack of engagement in Keith's looming detainment was very clear. He how about we get one thing straight, most importantly me and KD played in a similar, less fortunate football crew. And whatever the conditions, assuming he had an inclusion with anything, on the off chance that he didn't have an inclusion with anything, I wouldn't wish someone going to jail on my most awful foe. The lead prosecutor guarantees that Keith D was in the vehicle with his nephew, Orlando Anderson, during the game-changing day, and that Orlando is the great suspect in the shooting demise of 2Pac. Yet Knight's variant of occasions is totally different. There were just 2 of us in the vehicle that evening, he says. Yet he won't utter a word else about what occurred. There was just 2 individuals in the vehicle, and Pac, not going to recount to the story 2Pac's sibling Mober. Shacker's new meeting with the craft of exchange focuses to a fascinating admission attached to his siblings. He talked on reports that Diddy had something to do with it, which he tended to and taken care of into before. Truth be told, it seems like during a lot of meetings with Keith D, he raised the terrible kid head honcho's name regularly anyway, basically founded on Emperor's experience. He's been guarding his blamelessness for a really long time. Moreover, the rapper let the power source know how Sean Combs called him in the mid-2000s to deny his association now. For what reason was he calling me, contacting me, since LA Times had quite recently dropped a "It was in mid-2000 the kid Puffy called me." However, Mob Shacker's words on Diddy started Puffy got back to me in the day. I simply believe you should realize I don't have anything to do with your sibling. I know what your identity is. Nevertheless, we never met. I simply needed to call you Manto Man. Let you know that you realize that I didn't have anything to do with your siblings' demise now. For what reason was he calling me? Connecting with me on the grounds that the LA Times had recently dropped in the mid-2000s an article in the paper, ensnaring him too. I let him know I valued the call, yet truly on the way out. So we will see well, I thank him and see ye. Was on the radio over here mober. Shaker proceeded with huge kid hollered a huge kid. He hit me up and resembled yo man, you know Puffy, didn't have any desire to converse with you about the entire circumstance. With your sibling, particularly in those days, I needed all the data I could get. I heard what he said, yet this has been so tumultuous. I ain't know what direction to head. Until you assemble more data, no doubt man you realize, he might have been attempting to cover his end. Or he might have been sincere. We going to see you realize you got individuals. Like Kading he went on, he's out doing interviews to feel like he got compassion toward Puffy on the grounds that he was frightened. Definitely he was terrified, yes I concur. I truly do concur that he was likely unnerved for his life. So assuming that is the case, it's likewise very attainable that he put forth cash to get Pat K. You understand what I imply that is unusual. We going see the truth will come out at some point on top of it. He generally dislikes shove. Before Pac I get it you ought to be frightened. And like I said Pac would have boxed him Pac. Would have wanted to beat his end in the ring collect a cash. And give it to the hood it ain't need to be this way. So from what he realizes MPR, will probably take to the stand to let the jury know what he realizes about Diddy's association in PZM. It has likewise been said that Shug isn't at this point prepared to affirm when squeezed for more data. Knight remarked on his refusal to affirm, saying he could never willfully stand up against anybody, no matter what their association, since he wouldn't wish a jail sentence on even his hardest enemy to reduce most, if not all, connection with Key D's words. And the case's improvements, he unyieldingly expressed his expectation to stay quiet on all matters connected with the episode in the event that you are called to affirm for this situation. I wouldn't be the reason. Not another layer of complexity has been added to this ceaseless secret by Knight's refusal to affirm and his enigmatic remarks about 2Pac's shooter. Many individuals have attempted to sort out the thing Knight is attempting to say, yet he is by all accounts be resolute about not discussing what happened that evening on the off chance that you accept him. I won't get on the stand and affirm 1000%. I wouldn't go, he said. I wouldn't affirm no part of that as toward the day's sand's end. Heath D. Knight's choice to not affirm or coordinate is justifiable, given the conditions given that he isn't booked to be set free from jail until 2034, safeguarding his great name. There is of basic significance. Seeing or aiding away could harm his standing among his kindred convicts, given that he still can't seem to serve a lot of his sentence. Apparently, he has decided to put carrying out the rest of his punishment in front of any job in this high-profile case. Well, number one, since I won't get comprehend and affirm on someone for what the very sources that say he's attempting to safeguard his name additionally say that Knight isn't prepared to recognize that Orlando is engaged with 2Pac's passing, and that Diddy would have inconvenience on the off chance that he doesn't affirm against Keefe, he said. Yet I can let you know this, I never had nothing terrible to say regarding Orlando. Since he wasn't the ass, it wasn't Anderson. So that is all I got to say regarding that part. Long before Keefe's capture, an observer affirmed that Orlando Anderson was not the ass, and Knight's remarks reverberation those of that witness, affirming before a Las Vegas fabulous jury. This witness said that Deandre Largestra Smith was liable for shooting Pac Smith, was apparently a traveler in the secondary lounge at the hour of the occurrence as per the examination. Key D was driving, and Anderson was in the front seat close to him. Key and a traveler named Terrence Brown were in the front seat alongside Kefi. The driver is a person named Terran Earthy colored, they call him Air Pocket. Up behind the driver is Deandre Smith. He's in the left back front seat. Heath D is the only one associated with being engaged with this Anderson, purportedly arranged the shooting as a demonstration of revenge after he and his team were gone after by 2Pac and his group in the Mengingham Excellent Entryway on September 7, 1996, a BMW. Conveying the late rapper and Knight was trapped and shot close to the convergence of East Flamingo Street and Covell Path, numerous hours after the fact renowned for his tune, "Everyone's Eyes on Me," the rapper was shot multiple times, and his Mark supervisor was struck in the head by a slug part in spite of this Knight's refusal to affirm his energized broad hypothesis, with many currently focusing on Diddy as the most probable excess suspect. 2Pac had before suggested that Diddy knew about another shooting, which raised doubts that the awful kid investor was additionally engaged with Pac's death. This new data builds the secret encompassing the case, and a Puffy needed around 50% of the entryway. Thus it was only in it begun as sort of only a cash hamburger, as per these bits of gossip.